Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name. And today we are going to make a tier list going over all of the recipes in backpack battles. Now, there are 28 besides any hidden ones potentially, but you'll see there's one I haven't gotten. All right. Sorry, I'm not a pro gamer. I'm only a pro content creator. Okay. Which means I can't be good at games. I need to make. Are you going to be there the whole time? He probably is. That's fine. Say hi. All right, so we're going to get into it. I think I need to capture my monitor. Give me a second here. Did I do it? There we go. All right, so we are going to start in no particular order. In fact, we are just going to go from top left to bottom right. Now, I do have the game pulled up specifically so I can remind myself what these things actually do, as I know what they do for the most part, but sometimes, I've only had the item like once, and for this, fuck you guys, All right, crossblades. So, crossblades here, 5 to 8 damage, 1 stamina, 100% accuracy, 1.6 second cooldown. The star weapon on above it deals plus 10 damage, nuts. The diamond item triggers 60% faster, nuts, and every time this hits it gets plus 1 damage and triggers 3% faster. So obviously it's an insanely overpowered powerful item, right? But here's the issue. In order to get this in a run, like you can there's in your normal run, right, you go to whatever, like 10 wins, and then you have the survival rounds, right? In order to get this before the survival rounds where you could choose to tap out, I mean, what do you need to get? You need to get, in order to get this, you need to get the Falcon Blade and you need to get the Hero Longsword. So you need to get 2 Hero Swords at minimum. In order to get Hero Swords, that means you need 2 Wooden Swords and 6 Whetstones. And these items aren't expensive, but they're hard to find in a run. Like, in order to get the Crossblades, you have to spend a lot. You either have to get super lucky and be going for it early, know you're going to aim for it, or you have to spend a crazy amount of money re-rolling. So, yes, despite the item being powerful, I actually think it is a C tier item. And we're going to have that terrible transition. That's just the way we're going to have to deal with. So this item is C tier. Now, it's obviously not like a D tier bad item, but here's the thing. It's really hard to get. But when you get it, you pretty much win, but it's a matter of actually getting it. Pandemonium here. It uses the Pandemonium crystal. It's, it is called Pandemonium, actually. It uses the corrupted crystal. This item is bonkers, in my opinion, and it is easy to make. Food inflicts 1 poison. So there are anti-poison techs in the game, but for the most part, this is just good. All your food inflicting a poison around it, it's not all, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4 food around it inflict poison. And then when an opponent gets below 35% health, the item in the green diamond gets 100% faster. That is freaking twice as fast, believe it or not. It does good damage, high accuracy. The damage isn't crazy good, right? 3 a second isn't crazy good when compared, but it's like better than most other default weapons without, it's more than the Falcon Blade, right? The Falcon Blade's obviously pretty good, but the fact that it's also doing all that poison, and then when the fight gets near to the fatigue stage, whatever item you have here is going to start proccing bop, 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 bop really, really fast. I think Pandemonium is an easy S tier item because of how easy it is to make, and it's just powerful. Now, if you're not doing any food, then it's not very good. But you don't build it unless you're going food. But I think this is an S tier item. Now, these claws here. So these claws are surprisingly fantastic, actually. I finally got them to work after a while here. I wonder if I could change the game into, let's take a look here. Can I go settings and go, and instead of full screen, just have this? That way when I transition, it's a little more easy peasy. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, so these, what do? Every thorns you have, they get 5% faster, and after 5 hits, you get plus 1 damage, basically. So every 5th hit, all your weapon damage is increased by 1. But here's the thing. This thing starts attacking fast. It starts at 1.6. I've had this thing down to 0.5, where it's attacking twice a second, which means it's only using 0.6 stamina a second. But still, I don't feel like the Empower, it makes itself stronger, right? Because when it makes this, 1 stack of this will increase its damage by 2 a second when it's kind of going off. but it doesn't really, I don't feel like it synergizes that well with other weapons because this thing can use, I mean, I guess point 0.6 stamina isn't that much. Um, but this thing is attacking so much, I feel like it's kind of a little bit of a stamina drain. You don't want this and a big weapon because you don't want this thing to miss its attacks because this attacks are scaling. Now, the only downside of this thing is you have to have thorns or it's kind of doo-doo. Like 1.6 second, 2.5 is like okay, but if it's gonna take you what, 8 seconds to get one stack of empower, that's not very good. You need to have a bunch of thorns. So I do think thorns are pretty good overall, but there's not a lot of really good thorn items. Like we have like the spike shield, and there are some other ways to generate thorns. Like the pineapple is really good if you have some sort of pandemonium build where you're going with a bunch of food, or some sort of food build going. Pineapple is like the claws of attack's best friend. But overall, I think thorns are good, but I don't think they're quite insane yet. I think this is an A tier item. It requires a little bit of building around, but I think it's worth it. But standalone, it's not that good. All right, we got the mana boys. We got 2 mana swords here. The spectral dagger. On attack, use 1 mana to attack health directly and deal +7 damage on stun trigger and extra attack. So here's the thing. This item is like easy S tier because it bypasses armor, and so many of the armor builds are strong, but it does have to use mana. Mana isn't like really hard to get, but you get rid of your mana orb to get this, and so you're looking for mana orbs and blueberries basically, right? There's not a whole lot of ways to gain mana outside of mana orbs and blueberries. So I feel like mana orbs aren't super common, and the mana orb can also be used for lots of other things. It's like your main, but the thing is, it does bypass. I think it's an A tier. I think it's a bit hard to build around, not convenient, but I do think it is still like an A tier item, pretty good. Now for his brother here, I personally like this item a lot more because on hit it gains mana, so it kind of has the guaranteed mana orb proc, and then if you have at least 10 mana, you will steal 2 life instead of gaining more mana. And then after 20 mana gets used, you instantly, boom, I think this needs to use the 20 mana. You have to get up to 20, and then this will steal the life. So if you ever want to get to the steal 12 life, you still need more. But I do think that this is very powerful. The fact that it just generates mana for your other items that are good like this, like these two work very well together, right? They both have a, this is a 1.4, so this will generate more than enough mana to support the Spectral Blade. Now, that would mean you never get the 2 life, but honestly, it is pretty good if you get that 2 life going. You don't have any way to consume it. Just every time it hits, you just steal a little bit of life. That's going to be stacking with like your vampirism and stuff. And it kind of, this is something they can't get rid of. It's not a ton of life, but it is something, right? And because it deals an extra 2 damage and gives it to you. I think this item is actually going to be high A tier, in my opinion. It is going to be top down, left to right. So the Excalibur here, it deals +1 damage for each food, and the food on the green spot triggers 100% faster. There are situations where Excalibur is better than Pandemonium. I think Pandemonium's a better item overall because it's so much easier to get. It's pretty small. It's only 3 long. This thing is 2 by 2. It's like an awkward shape. We haven't talked about shapes that much because it hasn't been that relevant because the crossblades is so like irrelevantly hard and these are small, right? But this is a nice, easy shape to get. And then you're always going to be doing a bunch of poison, and then any item triggers 100% faster, but they have to be really low on life. So it doesn't come into later. This starts with the food triggering 100% faster. So this is also really good with the pineapples. It could be really good with the food's already kind of slow, but if you have something like a blueberry on the green spot, and then you have a few things around it, you can do a pretty good job. But the fact that they put the green spot where it's blocking 2 sides means you can't surround it with 3 more foods that make it trigger a little bit faster as well. So it is really good. This item's fantastic, right? 4 to 5, so it does 3 damage a second base with a 90% accuracy. Pretty good accuracy. Only 1 stamina cost a second, so it's kind of like can maintain. If this is your 1 weapon in a food build, that's pretty darn good, right? Because it can get +3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. +9 damage every 1.5 seconds is good, not to mention all the food is doing stuff. I'm still not blown away with it, though. Now, maybe I'm undervaluing this in a late game food build, but I mean, a pan's easy to get, and a heroic potion, you're always going to find one. So I do think you're pretty much guaranteed this whenever you want to get it. The shape, though, is a little awkward. I think the shape and is going to keep it down from being S tier to being kind of like high A tier. It's probably the top of A tier if I'm being honest. I'm a little biased against this item because I like Pandemonium, but I do think I actually tried to craft this like 3 times. I ended up having to look it up. I thought it was the heroic sword, this sword right here, because it's literally this sword like in the handle. But all right, magic staff. Oh, sorry. I like to go into looking at the item before we do that. Magic staff. On attack, use 3 mana to deal +6 damage and increase its damage by 2 until the end of battle. So that means you kind of want to be generating 3 mana a second. Sorry, 3 mana, 1.5 mana a second, right? Because this is a cooldown of 2. So that means every 2 seconds you're going to have 3 mana. So this hits, and it does, the first time it hits, it'll do 10, right, minimum, and then it'll do 16 minimum. Or sorry, it doesn't go up by 6. It only goes up by +2. So it hits 6 the first time, then it goes, deals +8, then +10, then +12. It's good. I find it hard to keep this mana flowing. It's like a fine item. You know, low stamina, 0.5 is not slow. It's a slow attack, and it doesn't do much damage. If you don't have the mana, this item blows. But it's obviously called a magic staff. I think that this will probably be an item that's better on other characters in the future that have more magic synergy. There's a little bit on the ranger, but right now, I think the magic staff is pretty low tier. So the magic staff is going to go into the C tier, I think. I don't think it's like strictly bad, but I'm not really into it. All right. Oh, sorry. Wrong button. Next, we are looking at the Staff of Unhealing. This is a super interesting item because this actually switches from a weapon into just a normal item. So this is unique to the Reaper. I don't know if anything we've talked about yet is unique to the Reaper. I don't think so. I think this is the first one. But every 1.8 seconds, which you can make faster, you heal for 10. Awesome. So you're just healing constantly. This is healing, like the red crystal can like diminish your healing or whatever overall, but like they can't remove your regeneration with the sword. They can't remove your vampirism with the garlic. This is a separate healing. This is a staff of healing, unhealing. But then you could use 5 mana to heal +4 more. I assume the +4 is specifically to this. This item's it could be a little hard to keep track of. I need to use the log more. But then it says for 2 seconds, healing also deals damage. Now, I don't know if this means all healing or if it means specifically healing on this item. But in a sense, I don't really care. It's just a very powerful item. Now, the issue is you have to get a broom, and then you have to get a magic orb, and then you have to get a demonic flask, and you have to spend at least a turn combining these, and then at least a turn combining these. But once you have this, I think you're in a good spot. I think this item is actually like really good. Actually, it is still a weapon. It just doesn't attack for damage, because it is considered a ranged weapon, I see. So it kind of has the same issue as the magic staff, but the thing is, it just does more damage, you know, if you have the mana. If you have the mana, I think this does quite a bit more damage. But even if you don't have mana, this is still not a terrible use of your stamina. I would probably use it more with like bananas and stuff to get more, because like I want this stamina cost to not affect my weapon damage. But overall, I'm just a big fan of the weapon. I'll be honest. I'm gonna put it in S tier. I think it is really, really good. Now, a weapon that I've made but have little experience with is the Dark Saber. I haven't used it as like a build around item, but it deals plus 0.5 damage for each debuff of your opponent. On attack, you can use 1 mana to inflict 1 blind. Now, a lot of things that inflict blind will say like for 5 seconds. This doesn't say for 5 seconds. This appears to be a permanent blind for 1 mana. And it does increase damage for each debuff. So it's scaling its own debuff damage as it goes. Now, finding a lightsaber early on is not very hard, but if you're going for this early, just have a little bit of mana, like have a couple blueberries, get the magic orb, and then don't spend it on the magic staff. Because once this thing gets going, this thing is nuts, man. Lowering accuracy by 5% per stack, like it can get really, really hard to hit you very, very fast. And then each time you're doing it, like obviously, and if you're going for a poison build, this gets I don't know. It says plus 0.5 damage for each debuff on your opponent. This is one I'm actually not 100% sure on. If you have 10 poison, is that getting plus 5 damage, or is it getting plus? Is it each type of debuff? I think if you have 10 poison, 20 poison, like that'll be 5 or 10 damage on this weapon, and that's easy to get. Let alone all the other stuff. Like you're just applying blind, you're applying this, applying that. Maybe ice will usually come up somehow. Um, so I think the Dark Saber is actually like really good. I don't know if it's S tier. I'm not quite sure if it's S tier. I think it probably is. I think it's probably that powerful. I think I might put too many items in S tier if I don't slow down. So I'm gonna put it in high A tier. All right, next we got the strong health potion. Item's fine, right? Potions in general are pretty good. The fact that they proc the potion above it is really good. But I mean, healing 18, gaining 2 regeneration, and cleansing 4. I mean, it's like fine. It's like okay. It can win you some of the early stuff. And every turn that goes on, the health potion gets worse. So I don't think health potion is good. I think it's like, if it happens to come up, it's worth crafting, but I think it's a perfect B item. An item that's not particularly good, not particularly bad, and it's just kind of there. So now, next we got our vampire gloves. After 4 seconds, gain 6 vampirism. And then star items trigger 35% faster. So it's even faster than the gloves of haste, 15% faster. And then after 4 seconds, you're going to get vampirism. I mean, this is just great. Gloves of haste are fantastic. Pretty much everyone always wants them. The blood amulet gives you 2. This gives you 6. So it triples it, but you have to wait a little bit. But here's the thing. Vampirism heals you when you're taking damage. Like you don't need the vampirism on second 1 of the fight because you're at full health when the fight starts. So the 4 seconds is not that big. I mean, it's a little bit. There's no doubt. You would rather have it when the fight starts, but I think this item is probably godly. 35% faster, just passively, and then it heals you a bunch. Like, obviously, like if they're using a bunch of garlic, this is kind of short-lived. But I think the 35% it's only a 2 slot, right? It takes 2 squares and it gives 2 items 35% faster. I think this item is probably an S tier. I would pretty much make that anytime it shows up. There's never like a downside to it. The potion here, when you have at least 20 armor, consume this and convert 15 health to 35 armor, and you gain 3 thorns for 3 seconds. I think these are the 2 next items. Point is, I think potions are all kind of mostly the same. I actually think the non-crafted potions are stronger. The demonic potion and the poison potion, those are pretty good. I mean, this potion is fine, right? Like converting HP into armor is very, very powerful against most, because you can't increase your max HP. So against most characters, this is fantastic because you have healing. So you put a big old armor in front of people, right? And then your HP gets lowered, so all your healing effects can start taking effect right away. And so it's pretty good. It's just like a one-time thing. It's not that big. I mean, it's nice, but 3 thorns for 3 seconds? I mean, I don't know. That just seems like whatever. And this one here, the strong heroic potion, consume this and regenerate 4 stamina, get 1 and 1. I mean, this just seems like too lackluster to me. Regenerating 4 stamina is good, but I feel like you either have no stamina problems or your stamina problems are bad enough where this only gets you 1 more attack and it doesn't actually really help you that much. I mean, but the thing is they're potions, so even just by being next to another potion, I think they're good, but I just think they're all kind of B tier. I don't think potions are like bad, but I don't go out of my way for them. I have to like see the potion, and I have to like, usually I'll have a health potion, and then I'm like, well, I'll pick up a stone potion because then the health potion gets that effect anyway. That's kind of cool. I'll take that, and then I'll end up selling them off later. All right, so now we're going for the Gooby Boys. Let's take a look at the Gooby Boys. I don't remember which one's first, so we're gonna go with the poison one first. 5 activations, cleanse 2 poison, and inflict 3. So all the Gooberts kind of act the same in the sense where they proc off 6 or 5 activations. And so they have 4 things on the side. So if you have like, the ones that are 5 are quite a bit easier, but if you have, 4 items adjacent to it, this will proc about not quite as fast as like if you have 4 spectral daggers, it doesn't matter. Like, that has a 2.5 second. That means it'll take 2.5 seconds to get 4 out of the 5, but then it'll still take more time to get to that 5th one. So it's not like it can be really hard to get these going fast and consistently. But it's still they're all, once they get going, they're really good. In fact, this is what this item, I think, Claws of Attack, is their main synergy is with the Gooberts. Or it's rather the Goobert's main synergy is with the Claws of Attack, because this thing starts attacking really, really fast. Like, if you have the Claws of Attack, you have a couple of these shields. I just had a run where I got this down to 0.5 seconds. And so I had this in the middle, and then I had each Goobert having 1 star on this, right? Because this is 4 slots. So I had Goobert, 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 Goobert. And so now it's like, it only took 2.5 seconds to activate this with just that one item, assuming this one item was going, right? Because it would go 1 second, 2 second, 2.5 seconds would be 5 activations. And then that would be the max for this. So once they get going pretty good. The thing is, I don't think this is that much better than just having, it saves a little bit of space over the food, but food's not bad. And food is kind of better the more you have of it. And this is like not a very big and cumbersome food. And I think the amount of poison it applies is actually pretty decent in general. I don't really highly value the poison Goobert. Like, I might be crazy on this. It can definitely start going off, but I feel like I had to have some very specific things to go off with it. I'm putting it down here in the C tier. Now, let's do the Light Boy. 6 item activations, heal for 18, and inflict blind for 3 seconds. Here's the thing. I don't think that's that much better than the regular Goobert. I think this one is kind of bad. Like, blind for 3 seconds is fine, but that one's just going to the D tier. I don't like this. It does inflict 5 blind. That's 25% accuracy debuff for 3 seconds. I mean, here's the thing. Like, again, when I'm using Gooberts, I already kind of want thorns. And so I like having thorns. And so the blind feels like it's kind of wasted on this. Now, I do think there are probably some like synergies with the blind. But it seems like it's kind of a hard item to get. I don't want to turn my lightsaber into a light Goobert, right? That's not really my goal. So I don't like this one. The Steel Goobert, this one I like a little bit more because it could generate you lots of armor, but it's just like it takes 4 spaces. The thing is, I don't care about giving up a hero sword, and then it makes weapons gain 2 damage every time it activates. But here's the thing, it's just like a little blah. Like, you look at some of these items up here, this one just gives you 60 at the start of the fight, and then every 3 seconds it gives you another 20. This is like 18 maybe every 2.5 seconds, I guess. Like, if you can really, but even then, if it was 18 every 2.5 seconds, it would still be less than that. And that's only assuming you have a super build around Claws of Attack and some other stuff going. So I think Gooberts are very, very, you have to go deep. And I'm not really a fan of them. I don't usually find much value for them. But finally, this guy, I actually think he's a little bit better because he does exactly what the blood amulet does. Yes, he does take 4 times the space, which is not good. But if you're going for a lifesteal build, like you have a lot of vampirism, this already steals 10 life. So this does damage to the enemy immediately, and it's scaling damage. It scales off your build, right? So if you're converting, like using this setup, you're converting your own juice into vampirism. You're already converting your own, and you're getting it from this, you got it from this, you get 6. So this thing starts stealing a lot of damage. I think Blood Goobert's definitely one of the best, especially because there is an item that cares about, is it this one? There's an item that's like for each, heal 2 every time the bloody dagger attacks. It heals 2 per vampiric item around him, and this is a vampiric item, so like it just got good synergy with the whole vampire kit, and I think Blood Goobert is not bad. Now finally there is this Goobert. Now this Goobert is obviously, I'm gonna pull it up really quick because I forgot. Give me a second. It's Rainbow Goobert. I had it pulled up. I don't know, I lost it. I haven't made this item, so I have to actually, if we want to look at it, we have to go to a website here. So what does he do? When 6 items activated, now here's the thing, they're all around him now. They're all around him. Insane, right? When they're at 6 activations, heal for 20, gain 20 armor, gain 2 vampirism, inflict 4 blind, inflict 4 poison, and give all the weapons that are around it plus 4 damage. This thing is the Exodia. This is the Exodia. You get this, you win the game. Keep in mind, it's 6 activations, and there's 4, 8, 9, 12 slots. This thing is activating almost constantly the whole entire fight. I mean, and you're just going to go crazy. You're going to get tons of armor, tons of healing, tons of vampirism, inflict tons of poison and blind. They're never going to hit you. Your weapons are going to scale outside of control. This item is insane. And that is why I am putting it in D tier. Now, here's the thing. You're never going to fucking get it, man. It doesn't matter. You win the game the second you get it. But this list has to have, you have to dedicate your entire run to getting this. You're way more likely to cause yourself to lose by re-rolling so aggressively to get 5 Gooberts. You have to get, not only do you have to get 5 Gooberts, but you have to get the hero sword. So you have to get the wood sword, 2 whetstones. You have to get the lightsaber. You have to get the blood amulet. You have to get 2 of the flies, and then you have to get 5 Gooberts, and then you have to have space for them all in your bag for a turn to fuse all 5 of them into the rainbow Goobert. It's just like, it's not going to happen. Like, it could literally happen like once and you're really going for it. But it's like, if you're trying to win the game, this is not the strategy you go for, right? It's the Exodia. It's if you get it, you win, but it's never going to happen. It's basically an invisible item for most intents and purposes and most runs, as opposed to everything else on this list. So I'm putting it in D tier, not because it's a weak item, but because the power to how hard it is to get ratio is still way off. Because like I spent like 5, 6, 7 runs just trying to get this, re-rolling it. I haven't gotten it. I wanted it done for this video, but I just think it's not worth it because, you know, I ended up losing runs. So I didn't put all the stuff on here. I must have missed the Corrupted Ashbringer. No, the Corrupted Ashbringer's up there. What did I miss? The dragon? I think I missed the dragon. Yeah, I missed this guy. So we'll do this guy next. The Ruby Chonk. So Ruby Whelp plus Hollow Fire Lizard, which is really fun combination. What does he actually do? 5 to 10 damage, so 4.7 a second. That's a lot. Accuracy is 90%. That's not bad. And then 1.6 second cooldown. Now, on hit, you gain a haste, a heat. All items trigger 2% faster per stack. When you have at least 10, so after items are triggering 20% faster, he has a 30% chance to stun your opponents for half a second. A 30% is kind of low, but who cares? Also, once you're at 10, unlike the mana items, this isn't an instead. It keeps giving you more heat every time he hits in this fight. This guy, I understand why this character is specific to the Reaper, because if you can give this guy 10 accuracy and you can get that stupid thing that makes that 30% go up to like 45, 50%, whatever it is, like the unique Picky Bank, I think this thing would be easily the most broken item in the game. But here's the thing. He makes all your items faster. Every 1.6 seconds, they all get 2% faster, and then he gets faster himself, right? Faster, while dealing decent damage, while also having 0 stamina and having good accuracy. Now, is he like the Exodia? Is he impossible to get? I'd say no. Most of you probably see dragon eggs in most of your runs. Now, the Hollow Fire Lizard is also pretty easy to get, but you do need to go with a bit of a card angle. You need to at least have the deck of cards and then roll, and then eventually you'll find the Hollow Fire Lizard. So there is a lot of hoops you have to jump through to get to this guy. But I think it's very achievable on almost any run where you're thinking you want to go for it. All you need, find a deck of cards, find a Hollow Lizard, find the egg, spend 2 turns, let the egg do its thing. Now, you do lose the ability to reflect debuffs, and he gets bigger, but I don't think it matters. I think this guy is insane. Especially because you have this guy, and then you give him the vampiric glove, so he's going faster. And then you give him the stupid bird that goes, wah, and he's going even faster. This guy goes off like crazy. He goes super fast. And the faster he goes, the faster everything goes. In fact, and the fact that he got 0 stamina means he never misses an attack. He never misses his turn going. I think Dragon, who is going to be placeholded as a fake item here. I don't forgot that I don't have him. He's going to be Pandemonium. He is a S+ tier. Dragon's right here. All right, don't forget it. I'm sorry that I fucked up that thing. All right, I'm not a perfect content creator. I'm just a content creator. All right, what's next? Acorn Staff. Now we're going to go over to the Ranger. Now the Ranger, like all characters based off their uniques have specific items that only they can get, right? Like this guy can get the Poison Goobert, the Ruby Chonk, the Dark Saber, the Staff of Unhealing, the Poison Goobert again, the Invisible Guy. What does the Ranger get? Womp womp. Basically nothing. You get the Lucky Piggy, which is very good, and you get the Crit Wood Staff. So you need an Acorn Collar and a Magic Staff. You already know that I don't really like the Magic Staff, and this uses 4 to deal +7 damage. But then for the next 1 second, all your attacks are critical. That's not terrible if you can get 4 mana every 2 seconds and kind of keep this going all like about half the time, right? If you can get this to attack once a second and you can get 4 mana a second, then you just always crit the entire thing. I think this could be pretty good. The issue is it doesn't really do that much damage on its own. I guess like it can, but here's the thing. One of the issues I have with it needs an Acorn Collar. Acorn Collar increases your crit chance per luck stat. A lot of this, like these items, like they have the luck thing, the Lucky Clover, get more luck, but this nullifies the need for luck altogether. So I don't really like the identity of this item, I suppose. It kind of, I understand why this character has it, but it kind of makes this means you don't need the luck. It does still give you accuracy, but it kind of like her unique thing. Luck always gives you accuracy. Is that her backpack gives you crit chance with the luck. I think Crit Wood Staff is just kind of, I know getting guaranteed crits is probably great. I think it's hard to maintain that. I mean, when I had it, I did a ton of damage, but I don't think it beats some of the other more powerful builds. I do think that it still has some issues with having to generate that much mana. Like, if you have 4 of these freaking mana swords and you're doing it, that's cool. If you have a couple mana things like and you can get it to work, that's cool. But then you need this and a bunch of weapons, then you start running the stamina issue to really take effect of it. I don't love it. I'm actually going to put it down to C. And now maybe I'm crazy on this, but I don't really like that item. So now we got the Lucky Piggy. I think Lucky Piggy for me is the main reason I play the Ranger, because it's the only unique thing about her in the crafting wise. Like obviously there's the classes, which are cool, interesting items, but Lucky Piggy, every time you get in a shop, you get a gold, and it has the same effect of the Lucky Clover. So it's just space efficient, right? It's nice. 1 extra gold isn't very good, but it is something. I usually use piggy banks and just smash them with a hammer to get the extra gold, but this will give you a gold a turn, so you'll end up making, I don't know, maybe 10 gold, right? You could buy an extra bag slot and re-roll a couple times. But the 2 luck is pretty good, especially on the Ranger. Like a lot of things that care about that, right? That's basically 10% accuracy and crit chance on your weapons inside your starting backpack. But really cool, chance-based effects of the star item are 20% more likely to trigger. So anything that's like says it has a chance. Let's see if any of these items say they have like a 30% chance. There are items that do things like that. Like an example, I guess, but isn't, you'll never be able to combine these, is like the Ruby Chonk, right? 30% chance to stun your opponent. So there's a lot of items that do that. And I do think this is really cool to be able to synergize with some fun items, but I'm not sure what the best thing is. But I actually think this item is surprisingly good. It's super easy to make. Very, very, very easy to make. And you kind of just put it in the corner of your backpack and keep it forever. I think it's a low A tier because of its ability to get increased chance. Like suddenly now your hammer has like an 80% chance to stun when it hits. What? That's really good. Holy shit. All right, so we're gonna look at the vampire stuff up here. We already looked at the gloves. I don't know why they were out of order. Doesn't matter. So let's take a look at Bloodthorn, Hungry Blade, and Thorn Whip. On hit, convert 1 regeneration into 1 vampirism and 1 thorns. Deals +1 damage per thorn and per vampirism. So if this hits, so assuming you have an unlimited source of the regeneration, right? Every time this hits, you get a thorn, you get a vampirism, this weapon gets +2 damage. That's insane. That's a lot, right? It already has a pretty short cooldown. The stamina cost, I think 0.9 a second is not like bad. It's not, but it's like comparatively to some of the weaker weapons, like the early weapons, it's not bad. But I do think it's still a little bit high. Because you look at a lot of these ones, these are lower, right? 0.5, 0.5, 0.6, 0.6, 0.3, 0, 0. So like, I do think that is kind of high. You don't have a lot of weapons when you do this. This feels like the kind of scaling weapon you do. Now, you do have to get rid of the Hungry Blade and the Thorn Whip, but man, the Thorn Whip is so fucking awkward to put in. I hate having the Thorn Whip in my backpack, even if I like the item. So I think it's good. The only caveat is you need a way to get regeneration. So I think this is going to be an item that's better on the Reaper, because you can get the deck of cards and you can get the lovers, and each lovers gives you 2 regeneration, which is 2 hits of that. It's pretty easy to get like 10 regeneration and just turn that all into vampirism and thorns. Very, very powerful item. It makes health potions feel like they're not that bad. It makes the heroic potions feel like they're not that bad. I like it. I think it's a really good item. So I'm going to put this in the, I don't know about S tier because it's not universally good against everything, but I am going to put it in high A tier. Yeah, I think I like this so far. All right, what's next? Let's go with the Vampiric Armor. So at the start of battle, convert 30 health into 60 armor and gain 2 vampirism. Then every 30 seconds, convert 10 health into 20 armor. It's just so much. It's just so much. Like, yeah, it takes 6 slots, but it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't do anything else besides that. But I honestly think it's an S tier item. It's just so fucking hard. Much harder to kill people that have this. Now, the caveat is if you have like the Spectral Dagger build kind of thing going where you just attack straight through health, then it's great. It's, you know, then you don't care. They're just killing themselves for you, and then you smack them straight through their health and they die. But otherwise, this is just artificially increasing their health by a huge amount. They're draining their health to give themselves armor, which you have to get through. And then because their health is getting drained, it's making all their vampirism not go to waste. So I think this item's just kind of a little busted right now, if I'm being honest. The Bloody Dagger. On hit, gain 1 vampirism, up to 4 times per battle. Now, it does have a 3.5 second cooldown. That is brutal, but all daggers have the same thing. Triggers extra attack on stun. Same thing with this. It's what makes daggers not total dog shit. I think I forgot the poison dagger too. It's what makes daggers not total dog shit. So getting 4 vampirism. If you have the ability to stun, every time this hits, you heal 2, you get a vampirism up to 4, and then you do pretty good damage too. It's a great item. The daggers are all fantastic items, but the caveat is you need to be able to stun. They're all easy in the A tier, I think, but I do think you need to be able to actually stun them. I'm going to put this one here at the same, I think this one's better actually. No, sorry. I got those two mixed up. I think this dagger's a little bit worse. This one is the exact same thing, but it inflicts poison. If you're stunning a lot, you can get a lot of poison, but I think there's just better ways to do poison. In fact, I think the flask itself is just better at applying poison for the most part, because you can have the 2 flasks on top of each other. They both proc at the same time. So you get the bottom flask procs this one, and then this one goes. So you get kind of 3 flasks out of it. And if you have 3, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flasks out of it. So I think that's better than the dagger overall. Maybe if you have a bunch of these daggers going, but then you have to find a bunch of epic items with normal daggers. I think it's fine, but I think like it's not insane. I think the flask is actually just probably better on its own. But I could be wrong. I haven't gone with a full poison dagger build to really see how it can go. If you get a hammer and a ruby chunk and you just keep people stunned and you just stab them like at instant speed constantly, maybe it does really go off, but I'm not convinced yet. Now this one I think people are going to be a little surprised by. I think the spike shield is great. Now here's the thing. It's one of the easiest items to make. Like this one, right? The claws of attack are incredibly easy to make. The health potions easy to make. And this thing's easy to make. But this one might be like the most common, most easy to make one. And here's the thing. This wrecks the early game. Absolutely fucks up other people in the early game. Because when you have low HP, 1 thorn, 2 thorn, 3 thorns is fantastic. And every time they hit you, you gain 1 health back. So this is like every time, you know, all their damage gets reduced by 1, and people aren't hitting that hard. So I actually think Spike Shield, because of its ability to help you win the early game, is an S. You can kind of go for like these more risky plays when you have this. Like you have a little bit of a build because like you're just less likely to lose. I think it is S tier. Now again, this doesn't mean it's as powerful as the blades or this one, right? I'm not saying the pure power level of the item. Because you get this item early for a low investment, it's not that awkward. It's a square, and it does a lot for the time that you get it. It's very, very good. You could sell this later if you really need the space, but I think this does a lot of work and kind of lets you save money because it's 2 low-cost items. Now, what's the next one here? The 3 swords. So let's go ahead and do the hero sword. Okay, it's fine. It hits okay. It's just a better wooden sword. It gives your other weapons 2 damage. I don't particularly like that. I don't usually have a ton of weapons. So if I have 2 hero swords next to each other, because I'm going for like, I'm trying to get the crossblades, like they each give each other 2 damage. That's like okay, right? But like, I think it's probably like a C item. I think it's like not very good. We'll do this one next. I think this one's probably a B item. Like the fact that you have to get a hero sword and then you have to get 2 more whetstones is kind of tough. But at this point, it is attacking pretty good, right? It's attacking for 4 to 6. It gives your other weapons 4 damage. But I'm going to change my mind. I'm actually going to put this one down here. I actually do think it's just not that good. Now we get to the juice here. The Falcon Blade, a hero sword and 2 gloves of haste. Give items 35% faster triggers. Now, this is very good. Now, it looks a lot like the Vampiric gloves, but worse. But there's a very important thing to keep in mind here, is that the stars on this one. The stars on this are, there's 6, 7, 8. So this thing could give 35% faster to 8 different items potentially. That's probably a little hard to work out because they would all have to touch it once, but at least 3, 4 items, no problem. This has a cap of 2 items. This you could throw anywhere and it's speeding up everything 35%. And it also has a guaranteed chance to hit. It also attacks twice. So if you actually get like any kind of item that it, like this, you know, I mean, if you have this, then you have this and then you win. But if you have something, I guess like a hero sword, anything that increases its damage, maybe like the Goobert here, the steel Goobert, this gets twice the effect of all that stuff. And it's making everything trigger faster. And it already attacks pretty fast. 1.6 is like, 1.4 is not bad. It's like, it doesn't slow down like a lot of these other weapons, right? A lot of these slow down. So I think this item's freaking fantastic. 35% faster to everything. You always want it. It's not hard to fit in. I think it's a low S tier item. Now, you do have to get wooden sword, 2 whetstones, 2 gloves of haste. And if you get 1 gloves of haste, you might end up wanting to go for this instead. But I think you're going to want one of these because they just make everything better. I think this is probably the most busted item. I think it's probably in this order. This item never wins you the game, but it really just like, especially if you're going like poison or whatever, like, and you're just, or you're dealing fatigue damage to them over the course of the fight, and then you're way ahead on fatigue, like this kind of stuff just fucking keeps you alive. And that way you're just going to with tons of HP while they're getting smacked around. All right, let's take a look and make sure I didn't miss anything. I think I got all of these. Bada bing, bada boom. We talked about all of these. Let's go to the Reaper. The only one I missed was the dragon. Remember, the dragon is the top item. The dragon goes right here, actually. There's the dragon. He's dragon tier. There we go. All right, well, that's it for today. Long video. Only 28 items. That means I took a little bit of time per item, but whatever. Who cares? Hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments down below. I like hearing what you say, only because my cat stayed there the whole time. 40 minutes, huh? Love you, buddy. Love you, buddy. Say hi to the camera. All right. Peace out, guys. Thank you so much. See you next time.